Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to The Voice. Live with Sandy. The Voice is a live Facebook discussion that brings awareness and gives a voice to the victims and survivors of domestic violence. We're here today talking about intuition and waiting for my guest. So I'm kind of watching the screen to make sure that she jumps on soon. I know she's finishing up with one of her clients. So in the meantime, let's talk about The Voice. The Voice is a live Facebook discussion that brings awareness and gives a voice to the victims and survivors of domestic violence and abuse. It provides the viewers with a direct view into the minds of a victim turned survivor. It is a place where you can gain knowledge, gather information about domestic violence, and is a place for everyone. Please continue to leave your positive comments and encouragement. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the outpouring of love and support that you have been showing me so far since I started this back right before Christmas. So welcome again to all my viewers from Canada, the US, Trinidad, Guyana, Australia, England, and of course the Philippines. Today we are going to have a special guest. Caroline. She's been on our show before and back by popular demand. So when Caroline comes on, I have to keep watching my screen so that I don't miss when she comes on. So I have to keep watching it all the time. So we'll introduce Caroline when she comes on. She's finishing up with a client right now, and she just texted me that she's going to be running a little bit late. So today we're going to be talking about intuition and learning to trust ourselves. Intuition exists in all of us, whether we acknowledge it or not. The more we learn about it, the more we can use it to shape our lives for the better. The human brain has two operative systems. The first is quick instincts that and is effortless. It's that quick instinct that we have when we know that something is going to happen, or when we think about something, that quick instinct that we have, that is intuition. That's where our intuition lies. Intuition works by drawing patterns collected by our experience. And when we have to make a quick decision about whether something is real, fake, feels good, feels bad, feels right, feels wrong, we draw these patterns from our intuition. It happens offline, outside of our conscious awareness. And the second operating system is slower to respond. It's like a computer. It's more analytical and deliberate, and it's conscious. So the evidence that our intuition does exist, science has found that real evidence to support the existence of intuition. Did you know that intuition is part of our brain that knows the right answer long before the analytical part kicks in? So sharpening your intuition. Every person has intuition, but not every person listens or chooses to listen to it. I know that for me, sometimes I don't listen to my intuition, even though I should. I always say to myself, I should listen to my gut. I should listen to my inner gut, that inner feeling. And sometimes we don't always do that. So intuition is the way that the subconscious mind communicates with the conscious mind. And the information that informs that real feeling is real. That you know, that feeling that we get, that the information is telling us that this is real. It's like any other decision, but the workings of it, the collection, the storage, the putting together, happens outside of our conscious mind. So intuition is a brilliant thing. The sharper it is, the better off we are, and the better off we'll be. So here's how to feed yours so it flourishes and it's ready to advise. Shh, listen. It's the sound. It sounds simple enough, right? And it is. There's no tricks there. Your intuition can't talk to you if you're not listening. So shh and listen to it. When we start to take notice, good things will happen. Just try it and you'll see. Trust your gut feeling. When a word like gut teams up with a word like feeling, you know that there has to be something, there's a good reason for that. And there is. Research suggests that emotions and intuition have a physical presence in our gut. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago about our gut feeling. And the gut feeling is lined with a network of neurons and is often referred to as the second brain. It is known as the enteric nervous system, or ENS. I can never say that word properly. And it contains about 100 million neurons, which is more than the spinal cord or the peripheral nervous system, but less than the brain. That's why we get that sick feeling about having to make a tough decision or knowing that we're making a bad one. And we get that gut sinking feeling inside of us when we know that, you know, that something bad is going to happen. That's your intuition. So feel. I'm just checking to see if my friend's on yet. No, not yet. So feel. We feel. You know that your intuition is there because you'll be able to feel it. So if you let yourself feel it, you'll feel that it's in your belly. And you know when you get that goosebump feeling and your skin has that shiver and shiver down your spine, the racing in your heart and the quickening of your breath, sometimes that's even more subtle. And the only way to describe it is as a knowing. You know, right? That's your gut feeling, your intuition. You'll feel something is right. It will feel clear, nourishing, and enriching. And you'll feel something is off. For me, it's an ache or a flattening, you know, in your gut. So trusting your intuition might be difficult at first if you're not used to it. But give it time and trust it bit by bit. And if that feeling is better, it will be worth it. And be ready to let go of the bad feelings. We don't usually do that. And we hold on to the bad things that are happening and we don't let go because we dwell on the bad instead of the good. And we nourish the bad instead of nourishing the good. Negative emotions will cloud intuition, which is why you're angry or depressed. Bad decisions can be made when you have that anger or when this happens easily, you know? Researchers have backed this, finding that people make better intuitive choices in a word task when they're in a positive mood as compared to when they're in a negative mood. And I think we all experience that. We always make better decisions when we're in a better mood. But if we're in a bad mood, we might make the wrong decisions. And that's your intuition. So be deliberate about the people that you hang out with. And this is something that I want to dwell on for a little bit. And I really hope that Caroline can be on, just waiting for her to come on. Be deliberate about the people you hang out with. And why do we say that? My mom used to say, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. And I used to hate that because as growing up, I had all kinds of friends from all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of cultures. And I didn't like that saying when my mom used to say, you know, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. But people who drain you will add to the noise and make it more difficult for you to hear your intuition and what you want to hear and what you should be hearing. I'm going to repeat that. People who drain you will add to the noise and make it more difficult for you to hear what you want to hear or the intuition that you want, that wants you to hear. Like the intuition is telling you something, but the noise of the negative people is blocking it out. Chances are that you already know how they are. And you already know that these are not the people that you need to be with or the toxic people in your life. You already know that. If not, be still for a moment. Your intuition will be trying to tell you this. So shh and listen. People keep people who enrich and empower you. And we talk about empowerment, and we talk about my coaching session is called Empower You. And we talk about that. So keep people who enrich you and empower you, and walk away from those. Hold on one second. And walk away from those people who drain you. Understandably, you can't always walk away from troublesome ones, because they might be your family. They might be close to you. And if that's the case, empower yourself by making it your decision to stay, rather than their decision, because they've taken your choice away from you if you make it their decision. So make it your decision that you are staying in that relationship, not because they want you to. The difference is subtle in language, but big in impact. One lets the power stay with you. One gives it over to it. One gives it to them. So you make that decision, the power to empower yourself, right? The language is subtle in between the big and big in impact. The difference is one lets the power stay with you, and one gives it over to them. So don't give it over to them. You take that power for yourself. Pay attention to what's going on around you. The more information you're able to gather from the environment, the more intuitive, subconscious part of your brain has to work with it, and the more accurate it will inform you to make the right decision. Connect with others. Connect with the good people, the people who will be enriching and empowering you and making your life a positive one. These are so many things that can inform our opinion and the decision other than speech. Tone, volume of speech, body language, gestures. They all contribute to the meaning we give to our interactions with other people. Sometimes we have a feeling about people, but can't quite put a finger on it and to what it is. And I always tell myself, I know that I have good instincts about people, and I should always follow my gut, because my instincts always is right. And sometimes we feel these things, but we can't put our finger on it, what we're feeling. People might be distant, distracted, uninterested, and often these aren't the spoken ones, but are the picked up language that we get, the body language. And we get body language through different things, like different behaviors from people. The ability to pick up on the thoughts, the feelings, and the intentions of others is referred to as the empathic accuracy. And the more we spend time with people, the more we can finely tune our empathic accuracy. Being able to pick up the signals of others will add to that intuition. Find time to be silent and still. And we talked about that last week. We talked about being able to find that time where we are focusing on ourselves and giving ourselves that self-gratitude and that awareness of who we are, and how we can connect to ourselves. So connecting to yourself is powerful, and having that solitude turns down the clamor of the world and allows you to tune into your intuition. So our intuition is always sending warnings and encouragement, but often we're too busy to notice. We're not listening because there's so much noise in our lives. And noise like the clutter of the brain, right? Like the critter brain. And we're not listening to what our intuition is saying. Our intuition is always sending our warnings and encouragement, but we're not listening because there's too much noise. Let your mind wander and be open to what comes to your feelings, thoughts, or words. One of the ways to do this is through mindfulness. And by focusing your thoughts on your own experience in the present moment, the mindfulness gets, I gotta wait for Caroline. She's gonna be here soon. So by focusing through your thoughts and on your own experiences in the present moment, mindfulness gets rid of the mental clutter and makes way for you to connect with your intuition. And there's one thing that I want to talk about dream, because I'm always looking for the meaning of my dream. And I'm always looking for people to tell me what they dreamt, because I feel that the dreams are the brain's way of processing information that's left over from the day or from the week or from whatever we're thinking. So dreams are brain's way of processing information that's left over. They are rich and valuable data, experiences, memories, learnings, things that we learn through the day at work, at school, and they can work hard if we let them and if we pay attention to the dreams. Paying attention to dreams can provide information that we cannot have access to when we are awake. Before you fall asleep, turn your thoughts to any unresolved issues or problems. Think about the possible, one second, let me see if she's on now. No, she's coming on soon. Think about the possible options or resolutions as you're falling asleep. I like to think about resolutions because it helps my brain to solve the problem while I'm asleep. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't always work. It's getting better though. Close your eyes and let your brain do the rest. Let your brain work through the night. But of course, intuition is powerful and it can lead to amazing insights. Doesn't always mean you need to follow it blindly though. Sometimes our intuition needs everything else to work with it. It's still important to use common sense and a balance of rationality. You need the balance of both. Call into play both the intuition and the rational parts of the brain to position yourself to reach the best decision. And I think that I want to see some of the comments that you guys have put out there. Priya Prasad said, listen to and not listen to respond. The less reactive we become, the more aware we become and proactive in our activities. That is so true. And here Priya says again, a strong inner voice and the intuition is our strongest guide. Once we become aware and listen to our gut, then we are on the right path. That is so true, Priya. Thank you for putting that in. And yeah, like you were saying here again, I'm just reading the comments at the side. Our awareness and those negative energy fields are easily identified. Thus, gravitation less and less towards the horse people. That is so true. That is so true. Oh, here we go. Carol is right here. Okay, so I'm going to continue reading some of your comments as I get Carol into she's connecting to the audio now. Sometimes as coach, we have to, we're stuck in with our coach, with our clients, and we can't leave them because we're coaching them. Hi, Carol. Welcome.
Hi.
To introduce you now, I didn't introduce you yet, obviously, because you were not on as yet. So welcome back to our show. Please give a warm welcome to my dear, beautiful friend all the way from Australia, spending her Saturday morning with us. Welcome back by popular demand, Carol. Carol is a mother of 4 sons. A year ago, she made a difficult decision to leave her marriage of 20 years after a sudden spiritual awakening. Her intuition was speaking to her. She was a police officer, and following in her intuition, just like me, she's now a coach of the enlightened empath. Welcome, Caroline. Today, we're talking about intuition and learning to trust ourselves.
That's interesting because that's the session I've just had with my client.
Wow. Well, you take it away. Tell us about what you've done in regards to your intuition. I've been talking about it for half an hour.
Sure. So with intuition, I ignored it like most of us do. And that little inner voice of wisdom that kept creeping up for years and years saying, this is not the right relationship for you. I chose to ignore it and I just stayed. And the reason I stayed is because I didn't actually feel good enough. My old abandonment wounds were rejection. So if my ex was to actually say to me, no, you're not good enough for me in this relationship, then all that was doing was reopening my old rejection wounds. So I stayed with him because I didn't want to actually rip off the Band-Aid and re-look at those childhood wounds. So we ignore our intuition because it's too painful to go there. It's too painful to speak our truth. And what's really important to understanding this is that our intuition is an instinct. It's instinctual. It's that little whisper that just comes from the heart, and it's the truth. Now, in order to understand why we choose to ignore our intuition, goes way back to childhood. And when we spoke our truth as children, we were told from our caregivers that, what do you know? You're just a child. Your voice doesn't matter. Children should be seen and not heard. Yes. Shush, go away. Even around the dinner table, you know, they would have these adult conversations and you were made to feel small. You were made to feel insignificant. And even I remember with my father growing up, even as an adult, when I spoke my truth and told him about the decisions I wanted to make for me, he would tell me that that's not right, unless I agreed with him. So you can see where these seeds of doubt get instilled in childhood, that if we speak our truth, we choose what's right for us, we're told that it's wrong. And we internalize that. If I don't agree with my father or my mother, I'm actually not good enough within. If I speak my truth, I'm not accepted for who I am. So in order to get accepted by my caregivers, I actually need to agree with them. I need to be who they want me to be. So when you become what they want you to be, you're moving away from the truth of who you really are. And when you move away from the truth of who you really are, you lose your intuition.
100%.
You then go through life agreeing with other people because that's how you get accepted. That's how you learn to feel good enough, because if they go, you're amazing because you agree with me, you go, oh, I feel worthy, I feel accepted, I'm good enough. So when I needed to go back to that original moment of where that intuition was taken away from me. And mine was as a 7-month-old baby when I was in hospital and I got strapped down. I was really sick and I was abandoned. Nobody came to me. I was there for 10 days. Imagine, arms and legs strapped down, screaming on the top of your lungs. I almost died. But back then, parents in the 70s didn't stay in the hospital. So I learned from a 7-month-old, if I scream and shout or whatever I need to do to get heard, nobody comes, nobody listens. I'm not worthy of being saved. So we carry that into our relationships. We carry that with our children. We carry that in friendships. So in order to connect back to my intuition, I needed to go and heal the wounds. I needed to heal that little girl who didn't get heard, who wasn't noticed, who wasn't seen.
You know, everything you're saying to me, it just hit right on the nail. Mm. Because as you know, I'm writing my book, my second book, and it's about my childhood and about being sexually abused as a child and all the things that are coming up. And only today, I was told that I should not be writing that book. It's not a good thing to do for the family because I'm embarrassing the family. I should stop what I'm doing.
And there's shame. See, the reason we don't speak our truth is because there's shame and trauma around the truth. It might be shame from our family's perspective. It might be shame that we put on them. It might be shame that we feel for ourselves. So we avoid the truth because of the shame attached to it. And in order for me to fully heal, Sandra, I needed to go and come from a place of compassion. Now, we have to remember that our parents weren't able to teach us how to tap into our tuition because they didn't know how to tap into their own. They didn't know. And if we really want to change the next generation, we need to show our children how we navigate our own lives from our own intuition.
That's right.
From that voice of reason, from that inner connection. We can't say to our children, trust your intuition if we're not doing it. Our parents didn't know, they didn't see their own beauty, they didn't see their own truth. So they were coming from a place of falseness too. So the only way we can heal the next generation is by finding our truth, healing our feelings of not being worthy and good enough. And then our children will learn from the best.
Well, my children are grown now and I'm still trying to teach them, but I hopefully that we can teach my grandchildren to follow their intuition, because I'm following hers now.
Because we never give up on that. We never say, oh, my children are too old now. No, energetically, they feel it, Sandy, energetically. So you don't even need to say anything. They can see if you're in your truth. They can see if you're coming from a place of falseness. They know that. They feel it. So we can only teach our children to be truthful and honest so that they step into truthful and honest relationships if we do it ourselves. We have to do it for ourselves first, but we can't instinctively do it unless we rewind back. Same with the client I just had. You have to go back into that feeling of not being good enough, feeling of not being worthy for your parents, sift through the pain, heal the wounds, turn your pain into power.
That's exactly what I'm doing. And Priya says, why is that embarrassing? It's not embarrassing for me because I'm not embarrassed anymore. And I refuse to keep anybody's secret. That's not my secret. That's his secret. And I refuse to go on keeping that secret. I'm going to be empowering myself by telling the truth.
And that's absolutely right, because when we're not telling the truth, we're disempowered. As women, we need to step into our empowerment and show our daughters, granddaughters, great-grandchildren that as women, we need to step into our power. And when we're not in our truth, we're disempowering ourselves. We're basically saying, I don't trust my inner voice. So there you go, Sandy, I'm going to give my worth to you and you can decide whether I'm good enough for you. It's actually the other way around. And this is what I do with my children when they say, oh, this friend's been mean to me. I say, is he worthy of your friendship? Are they good enough for you as a friend, not the other way around? Bless you. So instead of giving your power and your worth away for someone else to judge, you actually take it back and you say, is that person worthy of my friendship? Is that person worthy of a relationship with me? Do they align with me? But we don't trust ourselves. So we give it away for someone else to judge if we're good enough.
Right. We should be judging. Well, we should not be judging ourselves, but we should be telling ourselves that we are good enough.
But it's self-acceptance.
Yourself for that.
Yeah, and it's self-acceptance. We can only feel good enough when we accept every single part of ourselves with compassion. So our wounds, our pains, our mistakes, our choices, we have to wholeheartedly embody and accept for who we are. We're here. We were meant to be here. We're here in this moment right now, exactly where we're meant to be.
I said that the other day when I was doing coaching, my monthly coaching with my class, and I didn't know, like I had a lot of self-doubt, and I had a lot of self-doubt about writing this book. I had a lot of self-doubt about becoming a coach, and I was having one of those down moments, and she was coaching me, and she says, and at the end of it, I realized what I needed to do. And I realized the decisions that I need to make for me. And that exact words came out of my mouth. I am in the right place at the right time. I am here exactly where I'm supposed to be. Those were the exact words I said to her. And all of a sudden, and it was on my lunchtime at work, all of a sudden I started crying because that's self-realization.
And when we resist where we are at any moment in time, we're not surrendering or letting go to the what is. So we hold on because we're afraid of the unknown. We resist because we want to control the outcome. We want it to be a certain way because that gives us a sense of safety. So we miss opportunities. Whereas if we actually go into that surrender, and that surrender for you is a release of emotion, that I'm safe, I'm held, and I'm exactly where I need to be. And that's trust. So if we can't trust our inner self and our inner where we're meant to be, how can we trust anyone else? How can you bring people into your life who are trustworthy if we don't really trust our own intuition? Trust where we're meant to be, because we are the reflection to the external world. What we are, believe, our thoughts and feelings about ourselves, we attract that in. So if you're attracting people into your life who aren't trustworthy, who are disrespectful, how are you treating yourself? Are you really respecting yourself? Are you really accepting yourself? Because if you don't, you'll just attract people into your world who point that out to you over and over and over.
Yeah. And that's
so I think
that's how we end up in abusive relationships, because we do that to ourselves over and over. I've been there, I've done that.
Yeah. And the only way we can move forward is to step into full responsibility for where we are and where we've arrived and where we want to go. So whenever we're blaming someone else, our parents or our ex, then we're never actually going to move forward because we don't take responsibility. We are all in a relationship enabling and there's this codependency, but we're enabling each other. Whereas if we take responsibility for how we got there, which is straight from the childhood wounds of ignoring intuition and not feeling good enough, heal that, and then you'll find those beautiful people will just find you. You're at a different level of frequency. You're vibrating energetically in a different field. So when people say, I keep finding narcissist after narcissist, what is it within that you've got this beacon of light? It's like a mosquito coming to a blue light. You're attracting these people because there's something within an unmet need that you haven't healed.
That is so true. And we just spoke about that, about following your intuition just before you came on, about listen and let that sound, that simple sound of your intuition speak to you. Let your brain feel and hear that and take away all the negativity. And I said, pay attention to the people that are around you. Pay attention to the things that are going around you, and connect with people, because sometimes we don't listen to our intuition and we end up finding the wrong people in our lives.
And what happens, this is just the same that I just had with a client then talking about intuition, is we do hear it because that's the first voice to speak to us.
But we don't listen to it.
And the reason we don't listen to it, as we choose to ignore it, is because one of our parents' voices come in over the top of that. So it's drowned out by a sound from our childhood. So it might be dad's voice that would say, who are you to speak up? So we get that little voice within us, which is probably a parent who we don't feel superior. We are squished down. So that little voice comes in, and that's why we need to go to trust. We hold our hands on our hearts and we say, what are you trying to tell me? Because you'll have a bodily reaction to that feeling, that emotion. Your body will start to react. So you hand on your heart and, darling, what are you trying to tell me? What's that whisper? What am I not hearing? I trust you. I hear you. I've got you. So you're reconnecting and reparenting that inner voice. You're not parenting it from your parents' perspective.
That is powerful, because for me, and we talked about this last week on the show, I talk to myself. I talk to myself in the mirror because I want to hear what myself is going to say to me. Right?
Beautiful.
Yeah. And the people that sometimes we find people that drain us, and we will add to that noise because those people are making the noises, and so we are drowning out the voice of our intuition, and the chances that we give up that chance to listen to what our intuition is saying to us,
And because we're often numb, because as children, we're told not to think, we're told not to feel, we're told not to decide. We're too little to make all those choices. So we almost just numb out. So when people say, I don't know who I am, I've lost my identity, you've actually just disconnected from yourself.
Yeah.
So it's actually creating that inner connection. And I always do it with the inner child. I do it with my coaching, and we go on a journey and we go to meet that little girl or that little boy again. And I say, you know, what's that child trying to say to you? They say, they're scared of me. Of course they're scared of you, because they've lost the trust. You've abandoned them. And when you end up in toxic relationships, all you're doing is abandoning and rejecting your inner child, because she's screaming, get the hell out of here. And you're going, no, let's just wait and see. They'll change, or it's not really as it is. And we squish her down just like she was squished by her parents.
I read a book a long time ago. It was a psychology book when I was in university. And I did psychology as a minor. And I remember this book clearly, and it was like a person, and then there's two persons on her shoulder. And they're both talking to her. And she was listening to the one on this side, listening to the one on that side, and can't make a decision for herself. And that's just psychology. And that's just, you just reminded me of that book.
Mm-hmm. So it's actually taking mum and dad off your shoulders.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The beliefs about yourself that they instilled weren't true. They were basing upon their own belief systems. They had never, ever connected with their inner beauty. Our parents had never connected with that true authenticity, the essence of who they truly were. How could they teach us to find our beauty within? Okay, we can do that now, because when we connect to our inner beauty, that's how we show our children how to connect to their. We can't do it from a place of falseness, from a place of disconnection. So this is why this work is so powerful, that we have to do the work within. And then our children will make choices from their true authentic selves, and they'll listen to their intuition.
Let me take some of the comments, and then we'll come back again. Welcome, Caroline Clarke. You're both so inspirational. Thank you, Shania. Thank you for joining us tonight. Kate Kendall, thank you for joining us. Kate is saying drop the mic. Thank you, Kate. I like that. That's hiding skeletons in the closet. Yes, Indrani, that's so true. Hiding skeletons in the closet. Minnie, hi Minnie. Sorry that you're not joining us tonight. Nothing should be hidden. We are here to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. So true. Priya says, developing a coach mindset, living it day by day, in and day out. And then Carol says, well said, Carol. Priya said, well said, Carol. Fadia says, usually telling the truth is a hurtful situation, have consequences, so we are afraid. And Fadia, yes, that is so true. I think that my parents are afraid because I'm telling the truth, and it is a hurtful situation, and it's a hurtful situation for the family, and it is going to have consequences. So yes, they are afraid. So Priya was asking, why is it embarrassing to write a book? Priya, because I'm writing about similar situations. It is a fictional book, but it's similar situations that happened to me when I was a child. And so that's one of the things that my family thinks that it's embarrassing.
And it also puts shame on the family, because that again reignites that inner feeling that they weren't good enough as parents for you. So it reignites that old wound within them of the shame around that. Whereas that generation wanted to bury, they wanted to hide, they wanted to put it all in the closet, because when it was hidden away, they didn't have to face the pain and the truth. Whereas we're actually, this generation is ripping off that band-aid and saying, unless I go to the truth and go walk through the pain, that I can't free myself. I can't live my life from a place of wholeness unless I actually heal those wounds, because every choice and decision in your life and every emotion is coming from that inner place of lack of worth, the wounds, the triggers. So it's almost like if your parents could see it as not as you, as a fictional book, but they're actually seeing it as you, and there's so much shame attached to it.
Yeah, and it is a fictional book. There's some things that I'm going to be writing in there that, like, it's fictional. But they know that what had happened to me when I was a young child, I'm not hiding that anymore, right? But on the other hand, they should be supporting it. And like you said, they haven't dealt with their wounds. They haven't dealt with their inner child. So how can they help me to deal with mine?
And that's where we have to really try and come from a place of compassion, because they can't support you when it's triggering such a traumatic wound for them. Whereas they're not. So if we come from that place of compassion, is that I understand they're not able to support me in the way, but I can support myself through this. I actually don't need their validation. I don't need their go ahead. This is for my journey, for me to connect back to the truth of who I am, to save your grandchildren.
Yes, exactly. And that's exactly what I said to my husband this afternoon. I don't need anybody's permission. I'm giving myself the permission. I'm empowering myself.
Beautiful. And that's when we lose sight of our intuition. We actually look for others for validation. Yeah. And actually, when someone gives you advice, so often deep down, it's not the advice that you want, but you take it. You take it from them, and you follow what their choices and decisions and advice is, because you don't trust that you have the answers. You don't trust that you know better. There's no one in the world who knows you better than yourself, other than you. So it's trusting that I know the best for me.
Exactly. And that's what I said. Sometimes there's people who we want to keep in our lives that are toxic, and we know that we shouldn't. Our inner voice is telling us that we shouldn't. But we say, no, we'll do this. We'll see, like you said, it's going to get better. And it doesn't. It really doesn't.
And the reason we went there in the first place is because that person reminds us of something from our childhood. So it's literally playing out our childhood in a way. So it might be the familiarity is he behaves like my father, or there's parts of my father. So it's almost this false sense of security, because you get sucked in, because there's a sense of familiarity and safety and security with that person who makes that little girl feel like she did when she was a child. The adult self is saying, no, this is not right, because this is where it's going to end. But the little girl's going, no, this is where I'm safe. This is where, because she's coming from a place of not good enough. She's coming from a place of feeling worthless. So she attaches to that person, and she thinks she can change them. She thinks she can save them and rescue them, because she was that little girl who tried to save her parents' relationship.
That is so powerful. And so it's giving me goosebumps, because I know exactly what you're saying. Because I've been there.
It's so important to go back and actually look at your parents' relationship and look at what you have taken from that into your own life. What's the truth and what's false? What's the belief that you're carrying about yourself that was actually planted by somebody else, and then that made you choose those people? But I have to sit here with compassion and say, thank you for coming into my life, because you have taught me so much about myself and my childhood, that's allowed me to come back to the truth of who I really am. So without these people coming into our lives and treating us the way they treated us, we won't be here now. You won't be writing your book. You won't be, found a beautiful man. You won't be able to pass on this wisdom to your children and your grandchildren. So that's a gift. And if we see it as a gift, then we can pass on our gifts to others.
Yes, because for me, if I didn't go through all of that, I probably never would have wrote a book. Right?
Absolutely. And how many people are you helping with your book?
That's right. And how many women have reached out to me to tell me similar stories? How many women have talked and said, Sandy, I've been there. This has happened to me. Exactly what's happened to you has happened to me. But they're too afraid. They're too ashamed. They're too guilty. They don't have the voice. They're not listening to that inner voice. and I'm here to help them to find that voice.
Mm-hmm. And then what happens is, if we don't actually listen to our voice, connect to our emotions, our body gets sick. We get disease, we get illness, we get chronic fatigue, because our body in the end will grind us to a halt. You're not listening, you're not listening, you're not listening. So I'm going to actually derail you, and I'm going to give you an illness or a sickness or a pain, so that you actually really stand up and go, what's going on? Why am I feeling this? Whereas we often take a pill, oh, I just need to get rid of pain. That pain hurts. That pain is actually mimicking an emotional pain that you're choosing to ignore. But when it's a physical pain, we can't stand it. We have to get rid of it. We want it to go away. So we go to the doctor. We go to someone else to fix us. What the physical body is doing is it's actually giving you a message that you choose to ignore a long time ago.
Oh yeah, I posted your post. I shared your post that you posted today. I'm like, oh my God, this is so true. And so many people resonated with that. So many people reached out to me and say, oh my God, that is so true. Because now that they're experiencing all the pain and all the ailments that are in their body were things that they were ignoring when they were growing up and they were being abused, or they were, you know, not listening to their voices, and now it's telling on their bodies.
And the body's so powerful. I had a situation a couple of weeks ago where I woke up, I couldn't move my neck. I couldn't turn and look to the right. And I was like, where did this come from? And when I looked at what the neck is the movement. It's flexible.
Mm-hmm.
It allows us to see around. It allows us to choose our direction. So that inability to turn for me was my emotional state going, you've lost direction. You don't know where to turn. You can only look forward because you can't turn your head. So I did a healing session on myself. It was absolutely miraculous. I woke up the next day. It was as if it had never been there. And that's the power. The body is so amazing at healing. It can heal itself. But firstly, we need to actually heal the emotion that's attached to the physical pain.
So what did you do?
I did an energy shift on myself, and I went into, because I'm quite spiritual and this is the work that I do, it's mostly conscious, unconscious, cellular level. So I did an energy shift on myself and just cleared whatever belief it was. And the next day, usually I wake up, if I've been to the chiropractor, it's still feeling sore. I'm like, oh, I don't need a chiropractor, because that's a quick fix. That's a clunk of a neck, but you haven't actually dealt with the emotion that's connecting to that inability to move. So I wasn't trusting that I was going in the right direction. I wasn't trusting that forwards is not just the right way. There's a whole world around me that I actually couldn't see. So when I released the energy and then I could see again, I'm like, maybe that direction to the right is the right direction, not just this, you know, we go through life existing. Life isn't about existing. Life is about living.
Yes.
But when you're just going in one direction, you can't see around you, you're just existing. When you can see around you, you're living, you're seeing opportunities and possibilities.
And chances, and you know, they're there already. You know that they're there.
So I think it's really, and I use this with my clients. I use the body, the book, The Secret Language of Your Body. It's one step up from the Louise Hay. And my client just now has just got chronic fatigue. She had postnatal depression. I read out all of the emotional components, and she said, that's exactly me. Not being able to say no. How many women have not been able to, and still not able to say no? So what happens is our body then starts to go into this, you know, cellular reaction. We're in fight or flight because we want to speak up and we're too afraid. So we squish down, and then we just live our lives in fight or flight. Well, our body can't live like that. No. You can't live your life in a toxic relationship with so much fear that you feel like every day a saber-toothed tiger is going to come and eat you up. Because that's what living in a violent domestic violence relationship is. Every day a big brown bear is going to come and chase me. Your body cannot live in fight or flight. It's impossible. Because your central nervous system, you know, is just under stress, and this is why we get sick. Yes. We need to calm our central nervous system down by healing within.
Yeah, the healing within. And that's a lot of times we don't know how to do that. So can you give us a few tips on how we can do that? Maybe like 5 simple steps.
Yeah, I mean, outside of a coach, because you need to get into that unconscious mind, you need to really get into that inner child. So what I'd say is, just for viewers out there who want to just make some small baby steps, affirmations.
Yes.
My client just then, this is how, and you could do it by a recording, because just think about how we speak to our children. We speak in this beautiful, soft, nurturing voice. Do we speak to ourselves like that? No, we berate and we criticize and we judge. So it might be, you're beautiful. I love you. I accept you wholeheartedly for who you are. It's safe to speak your truth. It's safe to be you. You are good enough. You are worthy. And I write these out in affirmations, read them every morning and every night, because in order to change and rewire that unconscious mind, it's repetition. Okay, it's over and over. So twice a day, I'm good enough. I am worthy. When I'm worthy, I seek freedom. I'm empowered. I'm happy. I'm joyful. So write it out as an affirmation and believe it. So live your life as if you're a worthy person. What does life look like when you're worthy? What do your relationships look like? What's your business like? What's your relationship with your children when you're coming from a place of feeling good enough? Embody that. I lie in bed at night and imagine, wealth and love, and I feel my body, the tingles and the sensations, because here's the deal, the unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between having experienced it or having imagined it. So this is all the work that Dr. Joe Dispenza does. He says, if you want to accomplish a goal or a dream or a desire, you have to visualize it as if it's happened. So that might be, love. Okay, this person's lying next, he said the other day, if you want to attract love into your life, are you sleeping in the middle of the bed? Are you making room for this person? Or are you on one side? It's as simple as that, isn't it? I'm imagining this person, is actually sleeping next to me. If you're in the middle of the bed, you're not making space for anyone. You're going, this is my bed, no room for anyone else.
Oh my God, you just blew my mind there, because I did that. I used to sleep in the end of the bed, knowing that I'm going to find somebody else to fill that bed.
Beautiful. And that's what I do. So some nights I'll go to bed and imagine a pillow is this person, and you get that little butterfly feeling. And so what you're doing is you're planting into the unconscious mind that this is how it feels when this person is in my life. That's manifestation. That's taking it to the next level of actually embodying it. People who are single out there, when you set dinner place at the table, set it for two. Put a glass there. Imagine you with your dream man. And what's it feel like to share a meal with this amazing person who is wholeheartedly accepting you for who you are? So these are the steps we need to do if we want to introduce things into our life. Live life as if it's happened. Live life as if you are that worthy person. Write affirmations. Record to yourself, I love you. Look at yourself in the mirror each day and say 3 things about yourself that you love. I love your eyes, Sandy. How beautiful. What do you love about yourself? 3 things every single day. So we're actually instilling the gratitude and the self-acceptance.
I do that. I write notes to my husband and myself, and I go in the mirror, like I was saying that in my show the other day. I write, damn, Thomas, you have a sexy wife. And I would leave it on the mirror.
Beautiful. And that's another thing. You can get one of those those whiteboard markers, and I used to write it on the mirror as a reminder. And it might be just 3 things each day. So what you're doing is repetition. So you're rewiring that little girl who never felt loved by her parents, never felt good enough. You're now telling her that she is lovable for who she is. You don't need anyone external. You don't need people to come in and validate you. I love you for who you are. You're amazing. You're beautiful, whatever you want to say.
We are a lot of the viewers are of my culture, which is like Guyanese Indian, and a lot of us grow up not with a lot of affection and not with a lot of love, because the men thought it was not manly to show love or affection. So young girls in my background, they didn't have the love and affection from their father. So most of us growing up looking for that love and that affection, you know, and we find it sometimes in the wrong places, you know.
Because what you're actually doing is you're going out into the world looking for that father figure. You're looking to that little girl within who wants to fill that void that she didn't have in her childhood. The person that you seek in your life is never going to fill the void of that father wound unless you go within and reinstill that sense of worth. Because when you don't get that love and affection, which I didn't from my father, you internalize that as I am not good enough to receive the love that I need from my father. So you seek it in another. So we have to find that within, which is we are good enough and perfect just as we are. He couldn't give you that love. It was in your culture. It was passed down from my father's mother. She didn't show him how to love. They just weren't capable. So this is why I express the need to go into self-acceptance and compassion for others. Your father, it was generations of the culture that was passed on that he wasn't able to give his daughter the love that she deserved. It's no fault of his own. It's no fault of your own. So when we learn to reparent from a place of compassion and self-acceptance, we don't seek to fill a void from our father in another. And that's why we seek out those people who are not right for us. It is as simple as that. We are looking for the mother. My ex was looking for a mother and I was the nurturing mother, but I was never going to give him because he needed to go on his own journey and heal his own wounds. I would never be able to, I was rip off a band-aid now and fill it back on again. And I would, that's just exactly how it is. We have to go within and we have to heal ourselves. We've got the power to do that.
Yeah, 100% I agree. And a lot of people are saying 100% they agree, you know, like, you know, my sister here in Nirmala, she's usually on with me. She says, what are we ashamed of? We didn't do anything. The person who should be ashamed is walking around like he didn't do anything. That's so true. And that's exactly what I talked about earlier, you know. She says, you know what they say, you won't understand my story unless you walk a mile in my shoe. No one would understand unless they went through the situation. It's about breaking free, breaking away from the chains of injustice. Yeah, it is. It is breaking free and finding ourselves, like you said.
And, you know, when you say, you know, he may not feel shame, he came from a place of shame and that's why he did what he did. He came from a place of trauma because no doubt it would have been done to him. So
I always think to myself, it must have been.
Absolutely. And what happens is when you look at, you know, say a narcissist or a domestic violence relationship, I'll use a narcissist, for example, you know, you think about the children. I've got a sister. She went the narcissistic way. I went the empathic, bleeding empath, people pleaser. So I was my mom. She was my father. So we either go one way or the other. We either are the perpetrator because it was done to us, or we end up being the victim, attracting the same. So this is why it's so important that we heal. It starts with us collectively standing up, finding our worth, so that our children don't have to endure the same as us. A pattern in life will continue unless we live life's patterns until we choose to release ourselves, cut the cord.
Yes.
And
I'm trying so hard to do that so that my children can see that that's what I'm doing, and I'm leading by example, you know.
Absolutely. That's all that we can do for our children. There's no point in saying, go out there and speak your truth. Oh, if you see a red flag, if you're living your life that way, they're going, hang on a minute. Mum doesn't have to do it that way. It's like saying, you know, don't eat ice cream every night before bed and mum's in a bed, you know, scooping ice cream. We have to embody it and live it and breathe it and be it so that our children can be the same.
Absolutely. So I'm going to say, as we're coming to the end of our 1 hour. Oh my God, the 1 hour went really fast. I didn't even realize it was 8:30 already. I'm going to say to all my viewers out there, thank you for listening to us. Carol, thank you for being here with me and for sharing such vast knowledge, and you're almost like you were coaching me there, and I just feel everything that you're saying, and I resonate with all that you're saying. And I know that most of my viewers are probably resonating with everything that you said, because coming from a culture that we come from, everything is suppressed. So I want to make sure that people understand that, that what we're talking about, and that intuition, so that we can go out there and live our best lives.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thanks, Sandy.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you again. My viewers love you. They were so excited when they heard that you were here. But thank you so much. Good night, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Good night. Bye.